So, what we call a person isn't real. What we call a person is this illusory effect. Like in the story, you can say when the body was young, there was this sense of an owning and claiming of the body that I am. And then maybe it becomes strengthened by society and people around us that tell us that we need to believe in something, we need an opinion, we need a position, we need to know where we stand, what we're all about, what our interests are, who we are as a person. You need to achieve something to feel good enough and whole and complete. And when there is that sense of me, I am, there is this seeking, or I'm separate from, I'm not whole, this isn't freedom, this isn't complete. And this sense of separation, in subtle or big ways is really painful. And maybe most kids can sense that something's off. I don't know. So over time, over a parent time, that can grow, it seems. And then it seems like there can be this deconstruction or this lessening of that effect. But all of that is a story. All of that never actually happened. Nothing is actually happening. Throughout all that, it's always been just this. It's always been home. It's always been just this utter total freedom, unbound, free, totally free. No border, no edge, no separation. It's always been liberation. It's always been just this. That feels really good. That can feel really true. It can resonate. And when it's really heard, it can be really devastating because even though this life is a dream, even though the person is an illusory effect, it felt really real. Separation felt really real. And the whole life, my past, the present and the future, my relationships, everything I did, all of my choices and decisions, everything that I really value, everything I see as important and meaningful, all the purpose I had, and the dreams, hopes and dreams for the future, all of that disintegrates when this is really heard. This is it. This, the simplicity of just this. There can be a lot of devastation and sadness that comes up, and it can it can not necessarily, but like it can be difficult because it's new for the body, and the body is used to having hope for a better future, a better something, a next moment. But if I described what this deep sadness felt like here, it was so raw, so intense, and it was just that. There was no next moment. There was no time. So there could have been a mental saying, this won't last forever because nothing lasts forever. But that seeking energy wasn't there anymore. So it was just what it was. It was just sadness. And it felt like the end of the world. It felt so intense, and it wasn't pleasant. It is hard to remember exactly how it felt now because it is so fleeting. It's hard to put it in a story. It's can't be claimed and owned. But there is a wanting to mention that it can feel really devastating when it's really recognized that all of the meaning that was put onto everything drops. It dissolves. Like when Suzanne seemed here, there was a lot of underlying meaning put to family, the value she had around family, the most important thing. Maybe it was up there with enlightenment. I'm not sure. But whenever she was really, really sad, there was never a real wanting to end life because of how much she valued family and those relationships and a future with them. And this feeling like I'm important to them, they're important to me. And that was gone. That energetic bond that came from a conceptual idea of my parents, that was gone. And it was devastating. It was devastating to see that. And it passed. And there's still love and care for them. It's not like the relationship actually died. The conceptual, it's not just conceptual. It's just this sense of an energetic me bonded with a projection of a separate them. But when that drops here and emptiness is seen, when it's so clearly seen that it's emptiness thinking, emptiness emotioning, emptiness feeling, emptiness moving, then the projected person, the projected reality in that body also dissolves. It's kind of like it's an empty body, and the body is just an appearance. The body is also nothing. There isn't a real entity or person in that body that is my mom or my dad. And that there's still a familiarity, there's still a bond from body to body. There's still a, I guess, at least here, like a comfort. There could be a missing. There could be an excitement to see them. So that's still here. Like the body still has that kind of condition. It doesn't just forget everything. But there is no ownership of that. There is no ownership of I miss her. It's just missing. Or I'm excited to see her. It's just an excitement. And so I feel like the person kind of amplifies feelings in a sense. Like there could be excitement in the body, and then the person has a conceptual idea of why they're excited. Like, we're going to do all of this stuff, and it's going to be great, and we're going to bond, and whatever the story might be, it amplifies the excitement or whatever emotion there is. You know? It can seemingly do that, but it's an effect. It's not actually real. It's crazy. Because it feels so real, you know? Um, 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 um. So, you know, there were apparent moments like that of the deep sadness, a clearer and clearer seeing of this emptiness, of this nothingness. But what seems to remain is this unconditional love that's totally impersonal. It has nothing to do with the person. There's just this unconditional love that's not really locatable. You can't really pinpoint it. It's not even necessarily a feeling. It seems all pervading. It seems like it is everything. It seems like this nothingness is unconditional love. So there was a devastation here that the flavors of the person were really thinning away until they were gone. And it seemed more and more difficult for things that used to interest and excite what we would call the person here. It didn't do that anymore. So the excitement in things seemed gone. And it was sad. You know, an imagined future was just seen as totally non-existent. It was seen as a total imagination. So relating to people in that sense just didn't happen, just couldn't happen. So there were these little moments of just deep sadness that were showing me the effects of the person. So now that there is kind of this settling within the body, you know, the body is more used to this groundlessness, this emptiness, this nothingness. It does feel like there is a settling, and there is this okayness. There is this simplicity. You can kind of relate it to maybe what a baby would feel like with no ability to differentiate or distinguish a me and a them, a me and a you, or a me and a world. It wouldn't be able to differentiate an inside and an outside. I would say that there is that kind of sense where there really is no separation and it's just what it is. It's just what's happening and nothing's actually happening. There is this evenness. There is this not knowing what anything is. And there's this subtle, gentle wonderment and awe. That seems to come from or come with this unknowing. Everything is so utterly unknown. And this isn't a personal sense. You know, it's not a feeling. It's just this unknown is so all pervading, all encompassing, so thorough. It obliterates everything. It shatters everything. And it shows you that this was always the case, that nothing was ever known, that there was never a person, that the effect was an appearance, and it was never really there. Nothing was actually happening. The story was never real. And everything was always unknown. There was just unknowing. The apparent knowing of I am was this unknowing all along. All of it was this emptiness all along. There was never any separation. There was never any you and a me. There was never a person. There was never anyone in the body, owning the body, claiming actions and deeds or decisions. It may have really felt like that, but there was never anyone there. It was all just what was happening. And nothing was happening. So it can feel really devastating that nothing has any meaning. You know, the illusory effect can crumble, and it's not necessarily pretty. It doesn't necessarily feel nice for you and your life to crumble, to disappear, to vanish. But what remains is what was always the case. It's just seen more clearly that it was always the case. That there was never anyone there that could leave, that could come back, that could come closer, that could get further away. All of that was this beautiful appearance, a beautiful story, a beautiful happening. And none of it actually happened. No one was born. No one died. It apparently appeared that way. Was it beautiful? Was the dream beautiful? Was the dream horrific? Was it devastating? Was it... It was all of it. It's all of it. There is a beauty to it. There's an absolute beauty to the dream. There is such beauty to the story, to all stories. But it was never really real. This is crazy! It's crazy. There is really such a beauty to this message. This is it. This is home. No one left. No one came back. There's no one there already. This is it. And this message isn't, I don't think it's helpful to use it as a technique to try and convince oneself that the story isn't real, that I'm not real, that I don't exist. Sure, it can be tried. There's nothing wrong with that. But if the story does feel really real, if something is really nagging and turning, something's really bothering, can't even. If something's really bothering you, or there's a lot of tension in the body and it feels really real, I don't see anything wrong with talking about the story, about attempting to alleviate some things, attempting to untangle some things. No one would be doing that. Attempting to have a mental understanding of some things. It's not a wrong or bad thing if the story feels real. If I feel real. There is no preference to get rid of anything. This is just a description. And this is a seeing that everything is this. That the sense of a me is this. The illusory effect of the person is this. All stories are this. So what we call decisions and choices aren't yours. You can't make a wrong or right decision. It's just what's happening. The body is just doing what it's doing. There is no owning and claiming of any of it. It might feel like you're doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It might feel like you're thinking this or you're feeling this. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a sense. It's just an effect. And it's already just this. There's nothing you have to do, nothing you have to undo, nothing you have to stop doing. The body just does what it does. There were there were some moments where I really felt bipolar because there was just crying, there was just laughing, there was no remembering of what the sadness was really about or if it happened. But I feel like that is how babies just respond and react. You know, that's just how their body is. Like, there's just these emotions that come up. It's just raw emotions. There's no real story to it, there's no reason for it. Like, it just appears. And that's kind of how it's been feeling. Yeah. The dropping of this effect of I need to appear a certain way, I need to be a certain way, I'm this way. And yeah, just being defined. Um, since that's gone, it's just emotions. It's just sadness, just laughter, just the simplicity of this.